All right, good to see everybody. We had a great retreat in Big Bear. Um, really wonderful group. And after this class, we'll have a social hour discussion, practice discussion hour. So let's stick around if you can, please. Let's take a few minutes and just stand here. Let's just listen to the system. Don't try to create a posture. Don't try to direct the breath. Make sure your feet are parallel. Maybe whatever tension starts to show up is your system trying to open up to the room. Whatever tension shows up is just your body trying to open up. Notice how just standing here, maybe your sense of the ground changes, like maybe you're naturally pouring into one leg a little bit more, or you feel like you're really standing on the ground. Wherever we're um, tight, wherever we're gripping, as that opens, you may feel the ground start to change for us. Pouring the weight into one leg, just letting it just pour into the center of the earth. And then standing up through that leg and turning to the other side. I'm in my right leg and I'm turning to the left and I'm pouring all my weight into my left leg. Just like pouring a pitcher of water down into the center of the earth. And standing through that. Opening the left side, the left quad opens like pulling a rubber band. I'm turning to the right, opening the left quad like pulling a rubber band open, and I'm pouring my weight into my right leg. And then that rubber band kind of pulls me back to center. Let's do a little warm up. Just pouring the weight into one leg, mobilizing the opposite ankle. Changing direction. Good to see everybody. Pouring the weight into the other leg, mobilizing the ankle. Changing direction. And feet together, warming up the knees. Really simple. Changing direction. Releasing, releasing. And feet shoulder width and gently mobilizing the hips, the lower back. I'm not redlining my joints here. I'm keeping it a little bit conservative. My movement, my feet are, I'm sinking into my feet. I'm leaning into my feet to move. My upper body, I'm just trying to let it be as relaxed as possible. Let the bow weight point be gently pulled up there. Changing direction. Can you imagine that we're inside of a box and I'm hitting all the corners of the box with my pelvis. So I'm going right, left, back, hitting all four corners there. And then I want to smooth out the corners. So I think what they mean by that is like we're good at maybe three corners, and then the other, the fourth corner, we kind of like skip it a little. So trying to get all corners. And then little circles, gently making the pelvis a little more fluid and letting that also release the spine all the way through the base of the skull, all the way into the waypoint, releasing. Releasing, simple, changing direction. Heavy elbows and rolling the wrists in. My elbows are heavy. That means I'm not like using my shoulders to pull my arm up. I'm just releasing into the ground. My elbows are heavy, rolling the wrists in. Rolling out. And let's rotate around this pure vertical. Release, 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 release. Was a really potent, serious group at the retreat. It was really great. And then front to back, I'm always kind of learning from them how we'll make them better. Okay. Let's come back. Let's do a little work today. Feet are shoulder width. Let's work a little bit today. Finding the bubbling well, softening the joints. Like if the fascia is like it's like a webbing through the body, just wherever there's tension on that fascia, like wherever it's dragging, I'm just trying to creatively release any dragging in the system. Anywhere I'm feeling a pull, I'm trying to gently release the system. I'm not overextending in any way. I'm not trying to lean out on my structure. Finding Wuji, bubbling well, feeling through the pelvic floor, the sense of a dynamic sense through the pelvic floor. The lower body's rooted. The pelvis is neutral. Release the pelvis as much as possible. Feeling the tendon, lower dantian. Letting the lower back be nice and full. Let the upper body just float. Little daylight in between the vertebra. Tongue on the roof of the mouth. Eyes open. Find a spot on the horizon. Like a hook. Like someone is, or the heavens are just pulling the top of the head up at the bow waypoint. That will tuck the chin naturally. Little space naturally underneath the armpits, but not exaggerated, just that natural space there. The elbows are round and soft and the hands are full. Releasing tension. Sinking straight down, letting the arms just bubble up. Like I'm just in the ground and my arms are just bubbling up on this fullness through the body. The same fullness shining through the waypoint fills my hands, fills my arms as they rise up. And it's like this first knuckle on the thumb is gently being pulled up by a string. So don't hitchhike the tip, but let that the thumbs be gently pulled up, and we want our middle finger pointing at the other middle finger. And then release the hips, the pelvis, sinking through the quad. There are areas in people's bodies that they just can't reach, they just can't interact. So we're here, we're putting a little bit of pressure in the system so we can start to feel these areas that they're just too far, they're just too deep. And so oh, I can begin to interact there. I can begin to see, oh, there's more going on here that I can begin to feel that happening, can feel it changing. Let the weight of the hands bring that delicate awareness into those tight places. As for me, as the breath changes, as an area starts to open, it's like I'll be there and my breath will begin to unify with the energy and with the body, and it's like I can't breathe for a minute as the whole system reorganizes, and then oh, the breath is something surprising, and that so if I'm putting a breath on top of that, I'm getting in the way of this reorganizing, this rebirth of the system. let's stay real delicate, but let's work a little bit. So as we go into this second posture, let's not go into battle mode or into panic mode. Let's stay really soft with it, really delicate. I'm gonna push the ball away. My elbows are heavy. We want it to feel like a whole body thing. It's dynamic. My whole body's involved, but I'm not kind of freaking out. I'm gently pushing that ball away. I'm a little more on my heels than I was. More on my heels, and I'm gently pushing the ball away. And it's like there's an expansiveness going down through my heels, and I'm pushing the ball slightly away. That's that expansiveness in the system. Keep your knees safe. And again, if I'm going too hard here, there's no delicate kind of unwinding or blossoming in these deep places. So I've got to find a way internally to keep it really delicate. And what you see people often doing when they're trying really hard is it looks like they're continually kind of trying to sit down more. And that's okay, but could it be more subtle what's happening? Like, could it be inside rather than you externally continuing to sit down? Like, let the lower body just pour into the earth. This is more subtle than this constant kind of squatting down thing people do. And it's normal to do that until we find, oh, there's much more subtle. It's much more internal than this constant bouncing down there. And it's like we're here in position and we're working, but actually we're being filled up. It's not like we're working and we're kind of losing energy. We're kind of getting filled up, like the battery's charging here. It's filling up. Keep your knees safe. Like, make sure that knee is over the foot. If it's not, then over time that will hurt the knee. And don't force in any way. And this ZZ, for those with involved in a seated meditation practice, this should directly change your seated meditation, all of this. This should just totally change it. These postures, the ZZ. Great. Coming down, shake off if you need to. Standing in the river. Like a river, I'm standing in this big river up to my waist and it's coming towards me. And I'm adjusting to that. I'm fluid, my lower body's rooted, my upper body's floating. Can you feel that if you try too hard, everything locks up, and if you're not trying enough, then it feels like nothing's happening. So there's a real a place of transformation there that we can engage with. If I reach too hard, my system locks down. So my hands they're not like I'm close to my body. I'm standing in this river and maybe there's little balloons on the surface of that water. I'm just resting my hands on the surface of the water there on those balloons. I'm sitting down on a big balloon. I've got a little balloon between my knees. Tongue is on the roof of the mouth. Maybe some of you're here and then you just feel this area locked up somewhere like your chest. It's just this place I can't ever get away from. It's always there. And here, could I be really curious there and delicate? How's that trying to unfold within this posture? If I hold the posture too tight, I just lock that down. But if I'm delicate, then I feel within the stillness of the posture, there's inner movement opening the body. And within this holding the body very delicately and letting these areas start to unfurl internally, you may start to feel the tendon wake up. You feel the lower body start to root into the ground, and the tendon starts to kind of activate somehow within the body, allowing the body to open up. The tendon, you see, oh, it's involved in that. As the body starts to unfold internally, the tendon wakes up within that. Well, the tendon's doing it. Then over time, you see, oh, I'm here to kind of let that opening happen and watch the tendon, let the tendon do it. Here to kind of serve this process that starts to happen. Get out of the way, let it happen creatively. Notice how the vision starts to change, state of mind starts to shift just from letting that all internally happen. Good. One more. Holding the ball in front of the belly, my fingers are slightly pointing down, my elbows are slightly raised here, and then I'm sinking through the quad. So my hands are kind of straight out from the tendon. I'm in my legs, my knees are bent, my lower body feels dynamic and not forced. maybe if you try too hard to have the bow waypoint be pulling us up, that your system kind of locks a little bit. And if you collapse, it's also not good. So there's this kind of dialogue. There's this line where, oh, I feel this mm, connection, this fullness there, and I'm there letting it, I'm interacting with it. So if I try too hard, I lock it down. And if I'm not trying, nothing happens. Great. Let's just to change things up. Let's just to have an experiment today. How about we do a little non-directed in a seated position? So I'm gonna just go on my knees. Get comfortable, sit in a chair if you need to, whatever. But let's just see what happens if when I go into my seated position, if I don't go into this mode, this you know, costume of posture. And if you're outside and you can't get there, that's okay, just stand. But some of us, when we sit down, we just go into this straight jacket. And I recommend doing this if you're in a retreat or something, and then you have a little free time, or if you're a big time sitter, you have a little time, take a little time and break the rules for a little bit. And then you can, of course, go back to being good. Let's take a little time where we're in this position, and we're going to just let the non-directed happen. So don't create a posture. See what's trying to happen. Don't control the breath. again, maybe there's something trying to happen that I could learn to let happen. First, we can't really feel it, but as we get more into this internal momentum, we can begin to just let that happen more and more. We can give everything we've got to that without force. Releasing, getting out of the way, becoming what's happening. I'm gonna come back up and how about we do our three big movements here? Gathering three big movements down to the lower dantian. About up the right side of the colon, over and down 33 times. Rubbing, rubbing down the body. Great. I'm gonna give a little bow. And we have our social hour now, so let's take a 5 minute break and then we'll come back. Thank you so much. Stick around if you can, please. we drove down from Big Bear, and we were driving. I don't know what expressway it was. It was like how many, but a lot of lanes, of course, and we were driving, and there all the traffic got really bad, and then we looked to the left, and there were like police cars lined up. They had blocked the whole other side, the northbound. They had blocked it all, and they were all the cop cars were there, and they had their guns drawn, and there was a car out in front. And then we went and we saw like a car get like just basically cut in half in an accident. And then we saw this guy, we were watching him on a motorcycle. I thought, oh, it looks fun, but then like he got hit and he was terrible. It was like we were watching reality TV, the cops. We were watching Cops or something. It was this is Southern California. This is this is not Whidbey Island. We were watching Bad Boys. Watching Bad Boys. Okay, so let's why don't we get started? Um yeah, how's everybody doing? Questions, comments about practice, insights, challenges?
Just want to say, like the surprise sitting today. And even though I've been standing and then sitting, of course, it was different today. More permission, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
great, great. What happened for me was I was doing, I was sitting so much in Japan, and then I would do my my schedule was there was so like we would sit at 5. So at 4, we would all do a bunch of us would do ZZ. And then you'd run and get kind of like grab a rice ball or something, or um some kind of awful warmed up something, and yakuseki, a little supper or whatever, just real quick, and then go to the Zendo. And I just saw, oh my, I have all this momentum still from the ZZ when I went in and I kind of, well, I'll just let that momentum do the work now. And that just really changed everything for me, honestly. And also doing what I would do also is during the retreats, you're sitting so much, and then I'd feel locked up. And then I'd sitting was hard for me physically, really hard. But I'd go and I'd like on the free time, I'd go and I'd sit, even though my knees, it was hard. I'd go and then I'd just be like, I'm gonna sit and I'm going to break all the rules right now and see what my body does. And and then it would start to surprisingly, I'd feel good, even though I'm sitting 18, 19 hours in the middle, in the break, I'd be sitting. And I start to feel really good. And so I saw, oh, I have to do this while I'm the rest of the day. I have to let this happen in the rest of the day internally. And so I had to learn, like, I have to break the rules while I'm in the structure of the practice. And that's started to open up doors for me internally that I couldn't get to when I was trying to do it right. There's that whole trip we get on about trying to do it right, and it actually like turns into a straitjacket for some of us with our earnestness, our trying to do it well, you know. So anyway, I recommend at least taking some time in like a period, maybe when it's not formal, and breaking the rules and seeing, oh, what's my body actually doing when I get out of my meditation costume, my zazen uh template that I've got set up for myself.
So Corey, there's this article by Victor Sogen Hori called what's it called? Teaching and Learning in a Rinzai Zen Monastery, I think. Really cool article. But one of the things he talks about is the role, like the way that breaking rules is built into the culture of the monastery, and it's part of what the older monks teach the younger. So he's got the example of like during uh, um, during Sesshin, getting a noodle snack at night, and how the tradition actually is that everyone eats as slowly as possible, uh, in as many helpings as they can, so they don't have to go back to the zendo. But everyone was sort of like listless about it and just eating real quickly, and like the Jikki chewed them out for it and said that they were like being shameful and needed to find their fighting spirit. And it just made me think of that, just that role of like finding the right ways and right places to break the rules.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Love it. Yeah, it's amazing how our earnestness can, and our wanting, our sincerity and our wanting to do it well can end up being quite a again a straitjacket. And I think you see the people who really change, they're pretty wild. They're pretty wild in internally. And so they're actually within the structure of practice, they're being wildly creative. And I think that's so interesting and beautiful. Um, as opposed to, um, yeah, there's another species that just does everything like totally perfect, and that's great too. But um, I I I can never really identify with them too much.
Do you think the two is important? Like, okay, so there's the time to break the rules, but like if all we're doing is this other thing, then
I do feel like the structure is really great, and doing the structure and doing everything well, but also finding a way within that to be constantly in this with kufu, this creativity. So I think that's really interesting. It's not good when we're doing it, but like we're just robots, or we're doing it perfectly, but we haven't found a way to bring everything into it. So I think what happens is people, again, they get more and more narrow or rigid while trying to do it perfectly, and that doesn't seem to work. Um, you see that a lot actually, and so the structure is really great, and doing the structure well, and then within that being wildly mavericky,
yeah.
I think is really important. I think it's the real reason of Khufu. Khufu is a creative problem solving, and that's the practice is supposed to be all about that. That's the whole life is this creative problem solving. So you're being wildly creative within the structure, within the yep. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, kind of a question about that, I guess. So, I don't know, I guess on Saturday I was talking to Bob and he worked on me and he showed me a couple things. And I've been playing with that, but then I noticed like when we just practiced right now, you know, it was good, but like I was holding the postures and stuff was coming through me and I'm not sure if I should actually let that happen while holding the postures or if I should have my own time for that. Like when I hold the posture, should I just like not like let that stuff happen where there's kind of like a cycle running through me, like he says. So while holding a posture, is it fine to go through those cycles, or should I have posture time and then time to play with the other stuff? You know,
Honestly, I would do all of that. Honestly, I would have time when I'm not moving externally, and I would have time when I give total carte blanche, and then I would have some time in between where I'm letting the doors open and I'm having a good posture. I would play with all that, honestly.
okay.
And I think going into this where I think that can be another thing that you get kind of over that we can that when the body's moving in this certain way, that can also be another thing that we get kind of stuck on.
Yeah.
Or that's and there's a lot of emotion in there, and it's really great. I think that can be good, but not another thing not to get totally stuck on as like, oh, this is it, this is it, because there's more subtle energy also there, which people then they start to kind of not feel that, and they kind of get into this pyrotechnics. So I think exploring all that honestly is good.
Yeah, that's like what my question was, is like this stuff, it's not too subtle, you know? So,
Yeah.
and like, I'm really bad at being perfect, so I try to do everything I can to like do the other stuff, you know? Yeah, I try to come up with anything in my head to like not do it how, you know, you should do it on paper. Like, I'm like the opposite of the perfect one that won't break any rules. So I feel like I kind of have to go into that sometimes where I just be perfect and don't move because that's what I kind of hate doing.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing for sure.
Yeah.
Spending some time where, and then within that, like say you're in the posture or you're in a seated posture, within that looking good, then we're also letting the doors open. So we're not like doing that and then closing down. That's what people don't understand. They think, well, if I'm doing it perfect, then I'm not actually open. And that's not the case. It's supposed to be that we're in, but we're doing it well, but then we're letting the doors open within that. And so it's not like we're actually in the punishment time or the terrible time. It's we're on the penalty box when we're doing it well, you know. And that's confusing for people, I think.
No, yeah, that answered my question perfectly. So thank you.
Thank you. It's really good question.
Yeah, thanks.
You had a correction during one of the things, the live streams from the retreat, where you said something along the lines of like, pick the point on the wall and stay with it, and by not manifesting it outward, it changes the way that it moves in. And that I've heard you say that 1,000 times, and I'm always doing it, but there's something about it is like, oh, it really sort of clicked, and I felt it. Totally. Like the movement manifests then differently inside.
Yeah.
From not moving along with it.
That's right.
Not jumping around and not constantly like, oh, I'm going to just change that angle a little bit and just this angle and then, oh, my ankle, and then, doing the whole scan all the time. And
right. And right, not going with it.
Yeah.
But waiting, and then, oh, there's a deeper thing going on that if I kind of like went with it, then I would miss this more deep movement that's there. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
Can I just ask a question? I missed what Timothy was that in reference to ZZ or non-directed?
It was actually a Wuji. We like stood for 25 minutes.
Oh, so specific to Wuji. So the Z, like as a ZZ posture. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's interesting. I find for my non-directed, I kind of make this commitment because I've got like arthritis in my spine and my neck, and I'm always wanting to crack and adjust. And so I can't remember if it was the book of Marilyn's book earlier, you Corey, but the idea that like fix nothing, like do not, like if it's aching, hurting, itching, uncomfortable, just let it let it be. And I've made that commitment to my non-directed to never like look for a comfort or a relief or a release. And that commitment to the non-directed to never let myself get out of it. And I can see how that could apply to Wuji, like equally, has just been really, really useful. And then I'm always so surprised where some massive chiropractic adjustment will happen in my hip or my spine without moving, like without like going for it. Like how did that just shift or clunk or move out in some way? So yeah, that's kind of been part of my ethic around the non-directed, which is yeah, like never yeah, like look for relief, you know, like just to move into that.
Yep, love it.
Can I ask a question subsequent to that? So like when you set yourself up to do the non-directed, are you, I've got this release thing in my head all the time, like in the grocery store, in the kitchen, like constantly, like, because whenever I just like arrive, something's flex, something's, I'm holding somewhere. And so I'm always doing this scan of letting go. Like, Bill, what you're talking about, you don't do that. You're saying don't do that.
So I actually have a precursor. So the one thing I do when I start any of these practices, the one letting go I do is there anything I can let go to gravity right now? Like anything that's an unnecessary energy that I can just let go to gravity. So if I'm walking around with my shoulders up like this and I go, okay, this is my gravity moment, like, so anything that I can just, because to me, that's a not doing, right? Like this is a doing. And if I can let it go to gravity, like, am I holding my glutes and holding my pelvis up? I'm like, oh, I can release that to gravity. So I first release everything I can to gravity, which is not an adjustment, not a cracking, like just to gravity. And then I enter into now, do not let myself off. Any pressure that's building because it's uncomfortable, I want to release it. I just, then at that point, I've said, I've given everything to gravity. And now I'm committing to not fixing anything. So that's kind of my, I wouldn't call it a protocol, but that's just my sort of touchstones. Does that answer it, Tim? I'm not.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think that's my question is I'm always gripping my pelvis, in my lower back all the time. Whenever I become aware of it, I'm always holding it there. But what I do is that as those pressure points come up, then it's how do I release that,
So I will go back to gravity too as non-doings. Is there anything I'm holding here that I can just let go as a non-doing to gravity? So I will refresh that, but that's not a doing like I need to get comfortable and fix or itch or I'll let those pressures build.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And maybe like in the non-direct, all this pressure does build. And then we could be there kind of going, okay, I'll just relieve that continually. And I think that I would let it build. I would explore letting it build, let it do what it's doing. And that might create some exaggeration in the system that changes it. It might create this very strange. So I wouldn't be that would be I think in the realm a little bit of editing where I'm constantly going, okay, I'll wipe that out. I'll erase that. I'll release that one that's building, or with breathing, you kind of breathe it out or something. I would let the system, I would play with it. Let it, like Bill's saying, I think let it, don't give in to that where I'll do a little fix it here, do a little fix it, and let it do what it's doing. And it, that's scary. But then it may do something, it may build and it may change because of that building. And instead, I think often people will kind of be continually, again, like you said, continuing a little bit of a, they'll be cleaning up all the time. And maybe it needs to get, there needs to be a billowing up that if we're cleaning up, we're releasing the tension
we may need to build like the system might need to build pressure to change and or go further into something that's really scary. And if we're there editing, we're blocking that. We're kind of we're putting the system back to what we like. No, it's a really good point. I think all that.
The flip side of the coin is also true. Like sometimes when the building happens, there's a part that goes, "Oh, I want to build it more." Let me, and so, or I want to grip and freeze it here in this building, and so there's no direction to go. Like I don't want to add, I don't want to pressure release, I don't want to grab it. I don't want to release it. There's like that broader release, like a center of gravity, but I don't want to like again. And my experience is there's something always building. Like it's like there's something that always wants to come forward, like into and that's where the playfulness gets really interesting. Never the same press. Like I mean, it's always changing and shifting, but it's so it's just like at every level, like at every it's like no like there's a movement happening, but I'm trying to get off that coin that's trying to either release or build or check or like so. But yeah, I think it's really quite quite a amazing process.
So Corey, when you say, I think you say it in the ZZ, we're constantly releasing. That's different than letting the thing build in the non-directed, or
I think they're different in that way. They're a little bit different because if we didn't do that in the ZZ, then we would move because we're letting our body go through its thing. So I think they're both interesting. I think they're both worth doing and exploring. And again, weirdly enough, they all kind of like become the same thing in some way, which is really interesting. I always like to say like the non-directed is this sort of baseline practice. Like it's not I was looking for that. So in a way I really needed I didn't want to practice that was like, it was okay, we got something and then we got an idea about it and we do that idea or that idea or that idea. Like we're not doing this technique, we're not doing that technique, because I felt like any of that was always going to be in a way measurable or something that we got good at or was a skill that we built. And I felt like that just really couldn't be what we're doing here. Like gaining a skill that wouldn't be really deep, I didn't feel like. So I wanted to find out what was there prior to that. And if it was me getting good at something, I felt like that really just can't be that interesting. Partly because again, I'd be sitting all those hours, those gazillion hours. And then at the end of the night I go, yeah, but there's something else happening. It can't be about how all of that. It has to be about something innate that's there. So that's what my process. I was so interested in something innate that was there before I got good at something or before I did something.
One more paradox with the whole pressure is when there's no pressure building, that becomes also paradoxically an unbearable pressure. Like it's like, oh, there's the state of no pressure is the system still going like, what do I do with that? Right? Like it so then to not then try to build a pressure, right? Like it's so you can't win. Like there's just no place to go. Like it just it's always it, right? Yeah.
Some of us really like pressure and intensity. You know what I mean? It's like if there's not intensity, I'm scared shitless. You know what I mean? If there's no pressure, what do I do? I'm where do I exist if I'm not, I like pressure. That's good.
It's like the doldrums in the Pacific, these sailors that get caught in this place of no wind for weeks. and they're going nowhere, and they're just like the current is just ever so gently taking them, but there's no wind power, and they go crazy. It's like they're called, that's where we get the word the doldrums from, but it's an actual place in the Pacific Ocean, and they're just like, it's weeks, it's endless, you know, of no pressure, of no wind, of no, and yet there's always a gentle current that's eventually will take them out of the doldrums, but it's not in any way that you know, like you're not registering knots, you know.
The weird thing for me that I found was that there was all this energy, this different type of energy within not doing something. And that really showed me that something interesting was happening. Rather than the energy I could kind of create, or I could whatever I could make happen. When I didn't do that, there was something more interesting happening. And I actually, big energy was there. And that's actually where I kind of felt the tanden. So that showed me that I was, something interesting was going on. And that also was such a relief for me, because I was in this kind of panic to make it happen and to do it. So when I saw that that wasn't what it was about, that was wonderful, so wonderful. Oh, it's all good. Those are great. That's great. It's great topics, great questions, I think, or comments today. Anybody else want to throw something out there they're chewing on, or go on that a little bit more?
If I had to put this all in a word for the past few days, I would say sensitive. I'm feeling very sensitive and doing all of this like little by little. It feels like all my nerve endings are open or something. It feels very so like you said, oh, I'm warning you, by the way, there's a chance that you might well, not blow up, but you know, you're sensitive, so don't take anything that anyone's doing personally, and be careful in navigating that. So I'm just being like as gentle as I can with myself and my environment, and like taking this work really like more seriously, but at the same time like kind of playing with it. And the topics that are coming up today, the paradox of it is interesting. Like, so there's a time for rules, there's a time for like breaking rules, and kind of like letting your body decide what it wants to do, and just seeing where that wants to go, and being gentle with it.
I think what happens too is we just see where we're like, I'm not meeting reality. Like this is me in the way of reality. This is me either not, I'm not meeting it because I'm not there, and I'm not meeting it because I'm forcing it. And then it's like you just end up there standing, getting more honest and authentic. So then it just becomes becoming what's happening, the thing that's happening, instead of yeah, making something out of it, or not being there. So it like kind of molds us into doing what has to be done with it. And yeah, so that's the kind of like sweet spot of it, that just like cellularly has to happen. We see where we're bullshitting, and it's like it doesn't work. It starts to be like that doesn't work anymore, you know.
There's something coming up for me around like a fear that comes up in practice, something like losing my mind, not like going crazy, but like my mind going away in the way that I've known it for a long time. Especially maybe in the context of life things where I'm tracking a lot or like have a lot of responsibility. Curious if anybody, I don't know exactly what the question is, but I'm curious if anyone has thoughts on like really staying with like the mind changing a lot and letting that happen.
So great topic. I'll let anybody wants to chime in there.
Yeah, for me, I've noticed after we were done done with the retreat, the 4 weeks immersion, I just kind of took a little like vacation from it, and I just returned to like playing video games on the computers for like hours at a time and streaming and stuff. And like, you know, there's a part of me that's satisfied with that. It's like, oh, cool, dopamine and whatever. But then after 3 hours of that, I feel like, well, congratulations, you could have practiced for 3 hours instead or something. So like, yeah, the in a way that was me like trying to go back to something familiar that I do with my mind usually, but at the same time kind of seeing that it doesn't really do it anymore in the way that I thought. And there's like this like my body the whole time is wants more of the practice, and the like the cells are calling for it in a way. So it's not letting me really go back to my usual distractions in a way. So like you said, not losing my mind, but like it's like, well, for many years I've seen that, you know, it doesn't quite do it as much as it did before. It's not like I'm a little kid and I have all the time in the world to like explore games and whatever. So it's like these practices are helping me to really confront that. It brings this up more in my field of vision, like the things that are trying to happen all the time, but they can't really happen all that well if I'm sitting at the computer and slouching. But as soon as I just like, you know, just standing upright and, you know, like it's changing something and my mind's reacting to it, and it can get scary sometimes. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of trusting, teaches you to trust that. So I'm not sure if that was like a question in there, but being gentle with it. And
By the way, the immersion ends on like Saturday, so we're still going. So we're still going here.
then I'll keep showing up no matter what happens.
So I think Jane's kind of like talking about, maybe I'm wrong, but like, am I just gonna be unable to function in a certain way because my mind kind of like went blank and I'm not really able to use my mind in the same way? I think that's like pretty normal worry. I think people really feel that as they go into this stuff. It's like you're kind of pulled into this vacuum with it, and then you're kind of like, can I do anything when I'm in that? And as things as my whole being changes within that, will I be able to still be smart or multitask? It's like so true. It's really true. It's a really like, if people don't feel that at some point, then I'd be interested in that. So it's a very normal concern as we let go. And that's what makes us people afraid to let go, because I want to be smart. I want to be, and so they're afraid to to let go of that control, which is where, you know, I'm good at doing all the tasks, adulting, all that. I'm good at, you know, actually I'm not, but though, you know, I'm good at those things. And now if I let go, I'll be like this dummy or this complete fool who can't function. If you don't feel like that at some point in practice, I'd be curious about that. Anyway, I want other people to chime in, but I have more to say about that. But if anybody else wants to chime in, please.
Yeah, I feel that sometimes, and I felt that along the way for sure. And I still, you know, I mean, my life is changing, so maybe I don't have to be so functional. So that takes the fear away in a logical way. But that's scary. I don't know. Um, Along the way, it hasn't really fucked my function up in a big way. Um, I have to say that. Sometimes sometimes you just think you know how your life is put together and you don't really know. And you find out afterwards, after you've done like letting go of the story, that it wasn't actually true anyway, that you just thought that's why you were able to do things. And you get to another place and your perspective changes, like, oh well, I actually don't know why I'm functional. I don't have a reason. It just happens. And I don't know. I guess it's like where my mind is going back to is like, what is that worry? Like, what in real time, what is that anxiety? And like maybe that anxiety is something to really take into the practice as well, like the anxiety about um, whether about function, whether that's something to just like let that go through you a bit while you're practicing. But um, I don't know. All I have to say is that I mean, it may seem like the way I'm wandering right now that I have no function at all, but like it hasn't really affected my function negatively.
I was, yeah, like in more like when you're in that situation. I think I get what Jane is saying. Maybe, like it is, there is some fear there, and kind of you were talking about tracking. It came from like some intensity of focus, and you need something to focus on in that. You need to maintain the focus, and kind of in these, in a certain sense, there's kind of three elements that need to come together all the time. And if you're kind of missing one of those elements, yeah, you might get a little bit scattered. And so it's kind of like the concentration and then the clarity of what you're experiencing, and then the equanimity as well. We can maybe lose the equanimity and because of the fear. But if you can keep the focus, then something else has a chance to take over then. And it feels maybe scary, but it's always going to be good, you know. But we just don't know, you know, the fear of that. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's just, for me at least, it's like keeping that focus. I don't know. I don't know if that's close to what you're talking about.
Yeah, you said something just a minute ago where you start to see that your bullshit doesn't work. I'm afraid of all that stuff, of not being able to, you know, conceptually, like I have no idea how to make a living, and conceptually I have no idea how to get all this stuff done. and I see that all the ways that I was doing it before, like, absolutely is just bullshit, is not real, it's not genuine. But if I'm not here with it, then it doesn't seem to be a problem, really, ultimately. Like, the problem is only when I'm like up here with it. Not that I have anything figured out, but but if I'm in my head with it, then it's absolutely not figured out,
And oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, when I was training in Japan, I had one karate instructor. His name was Kawada Sensei, and he would make this commitment to never ever teach the same karate class twice, and he never did. He would start with the principle, and he would build, and he was in the class, and he would always just create. And he didn't come in with a plan of what the class would be, maybe a starting point, but never a plan. He would just let it unfold. And I just love that, and so I remember at that time I made the same commitment. First to my karate teaching, that I would never teach the same karate class twice. And then later that expanded to other aspects of my life, like that I would never create the same therapy for a patient twice. I would never create the same therapeutic intervention twice. It would always just be what could come out of this moment. And I find this practice, I think why I was attracted to it is that I think at its root, it's profoundly improvisational. I think it's flow, it's of the present moment, it's creating all the time. In the body, like this, and it shows how profoundly, like that we're in this living improvisation, never the same twice, never the same twice. And I find that to have a mind that aligns with that is just a lovely thing too, where it's like, oh yeah, like this, there's like there's nothing the same here. This is actually like talking right now. I've never said this before. Like this is an improvised moment in speech, in ideas. And I find that the body and the mind line up with this broader flow of life as an improvised, living, flowing, ever creative act. And then I find that the times that my mind falls out of that, that's when I will get anxiety, like future-oriented anxiety and things like that. So I don't know. I just find that this broader theme is the thing that stops me from that kind of craziness. Like I don't have to be thinking about my thinking. Like it can just sort of flow and move. And I've found that that's been a really, and maybe that's why I think I find this work that we're doing here so nourishing.
I can say, to a certain extent, you're going to have to put things down if you're really going to change. I mean, all these other things are true, but yeah, there will be things you will not be able to do. Not to feed into the fear of it, but that's the way it's been for me. And there's a lot that I've had to leave behind. And as Dr. Bill said sometimes too, you're going to have to mourn that to a certain extent. Like, yeah, if you have the choice of changing, you're going to have to accept the fact that if you're moving forward, you will need to change. And if you don't have the choice to change, but you find yourself changing anyway, it's going to happen one way or the other. So kind of to tag on to Dr. Bill there too, there's really not much to worry about there if you have to do it.
And maybe just to get into like some of the nitty-gritty of this, maybe some of the feeling of it, like when we start to, the energy starts to open up and people start to go into places of samadhi where our thinking stops and we can't control anything. There's no controlling. The thoughts start to you become penetrated by the energy, and the thoughts start to cease. This process is not something you can't do anything at that, and that's scary. And so you're kind of in this, you kind of feel penetrated, and that you have to decide: am I going to allow this to happen, or am I gonna like keep my shit together and be like really functional right now? And I think if you can, it's letting that completely penetrate us, letting that completely take over, that changes, it changes things, and it changes the whole deal over time. And that what comes out of that is there is a death in that. There's a death of how we function, and then there's a rebirth of something that's different that comes out of that. And it's, I would say, that's a process, and that it's totally worth it. And there are people that are, they get into practice and then they get really scared because they don't want to let go of that way that they function, the way that they control. And people get really, really good at that. And as the nitty-gritty happens, and we're penetrated by this, and our mind starts to open and change, that's really scary. And then something beautiful comes out of that. That's totally worth it. So anyway, that's my experience. Just to say is that at a certain point, people kind of go, well, I've tried this. I've tried doing it this way. I'm going to let it happen, and I'm going to let this process take hold, and then they change, and then there's a really different, interesting type of functioning that comes out of that, which is incredibly beautiful, I think. Tough to talk about all this, but it's kind of for especially a certain animal, that's how it feels. That's how it works. So whatever we thought, like, well, I'll be kind of open, but then I'll actually like keep my hand on the, on the steering wheel. I'll keep control. That starts to not work. And our system kind of has a little bit of it has a struggle with that. And then many of us have to go at some point, I don't know where this is going, but I have to I'm going to choose to let that happen, let that take over, and let that penetrate me. And then their functioning, it changes. And that's the best. And then we spend a long time like letting that just take over everything. And then we see, oh, I'm in the way there. I'm in the way there. I'm in the way there. And the process then cleans house, and it shows us where I'm in the way, and I've got to get out of the way of that. So it's a long process of letting that to be able to really live from that place all the time. It's a big process. Many of us, there's not really a big choice with that. In many ways, like I think Brian was saying, like, and sometimes the system just, it has to, this really just has to happen. And then we so in that way, we don't have a lot of choice in that for many of us.
I think you said, Dr. Williams, there when you said the word improvisation, it's kind of like an improvisation. I really feel that, because that reminds me of in college, I was in an improvisation team, like a team of doing improvisation. It's like a theater thing and whatever. And I was told that I was good at it, but I never felt like I was really good at it. It was one of the most terrifying things I've ever done. Always getting out there and, like, when you're in that state of unknown, you have an idea of how you would like the scene to begin. You have an idea of how you would like it to end, but that can change. And anything in between is like pure chaos and unknown. And I always felt like all my personal stuff would come through me, and but like the audience and the team, they just saw whatever character I was doing, but I never felt like, you know, it's a complete loss of control and oh, everyone's going to see like my personal issues shine through that, but apparently they didn't. But I felt like that's what, I don't know, it's strange because it's like, yeah, one of the most terrifying sports I've ever done. Acting and things. I've never really known how I'm supposed to be an actor. I've always felt like, well, my stuff is getting in the way somewhat. And others might not see it, but I felt completely naked on the scene whenever I show up. And yeah, it's terrifying.
I guess something coming up for me. It's very quiet. If you can hear me, after the mini retreat, I was pretty cooked. I barely been able to practice last week. I got a little bit in every day, but like doing a class was just like trying to pull teeth. I'm feeling a lot of frustration and shame about that because I can feel how the practice works and it's very resourcing and energizing. I don't even know what to say. I just want to say that I feel embarrassed and I want to get back to it, but I'm just like, it feels like there's like the tap shut really tight, except for a little bit. Yeah. I was embarrassed to even show up on this call like after last week. I was just like, no, I can do this. Yeah, that's what I'm coming with.
Yeah, my
No, you can go ahead, Michael.
yeah, that my tap was shut pretty tight during the real retreat for a couple days, and in the end, it was good because I could like sort of look at the tap and say like, well, "Damn it, why are you so shut, tap?" And tap talked to me a little bit, and think that it, you know, we all of us inside learned a little bit about tap in the end. So that's my story.
I'd say just take your time. You know, all these practices are powerful. When I first came to classes and joined, I kind of did what you're doing, where I just went all out and all in, and for like a whole week I couldn't sleep, and I was crying in the shower and being horrible to my family, and like just all this crazy stuff came up, and like you just gotta be patient, and it's fine. Yeah, if like you get cooked, if your whole system gets cooked, it's fine to take off a couple days or a week, you know. I'm also hard on myself. We were talking about that over the weekend, how like all of us are so hard on ourselves, you know, and it's nonstop. It's nonstop, but just like you being here and coming to classes and putting in the work is honestly a big part of it. And just take it easy on yourself, because over time you'll definitely change. And um, but yeah, right when I came to these classes, just like you, I had people, you know, telling me just like, Corey, don't torture yourself, don't be a hero, and I did it anyway. And then you kind of pay the price, and then you gotta take off for like a week or so, but that's part of the process. So yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. I think it happens to everyone.
And Nancy, maybe it's just an expression of your mythological namesake. You know, just the trickster and tricky energies, you know, of all of these things, sometimes on the surface, sometimes going underground, playing in all these loopy fashions that we never expected to in terms of our plan. You know, maybe you're just maybe you're just connecting with that beautiful name of yours in terms of the energetic of it all. And by the way, Alec, I really appreciate what you're saying about the improvisation about the as a contact sport and really putting yourself out there. There is and maybe that's also this work also engages a kind of vulnerability, right? Like you have to be vulnerable to be in this work, just like you had to be vulnerable to be on the stage. And they just saw it as theater and comedy, but you recognize that you actually had to meet the reality of that vulnerability for that to come forward.
Haven't heard from everybody. If anybody who hasn't spoken wants to chime in, please.
I just found the non-directed sitting very good for me because I'm somebody who has to get it right, and standing often my body, I just find how stiff my body is. So I was able to just relax a lot more with the sitting in the chair. So that was a good experience for me, and I'll try it a little bit more, I think.
Cool. Today, by the way, for those that weren't here today in the class, we did the non-direct sitting down, like in a whatever, in zazen posture or in seiza or in a chair, and anyways, it's worth doing that, I think, to try it for people. People go into a sitting position and then they put on this straight jacket, or they go into this whole mode of whatever they're training. They kind of go into this mode, and it's worth spending some time in that position with being real creative, or just letting the system in the non-directed, letting it kind of come through. Yeah, it can be very helpful for people, I think.
Still don't know what you mean by being creative, though.
Let's see. So if something's happening in my system or in my body, and I feel it, then my perception of it has to be open to what it is, rather than to decide what it is. And so maybe what I'm feeling, I'm interpreting it, and I'm trying to steer it, and I'm not really listening to it. So instead, whatever's happening, I have to be able to use use maybe a different type of sensing, a different type of relating to it, that shows me, oh, it's actually showing me how to open up. And I had my assumptions there were trying to make it into something, and that was actually blocking me from feeling it. So it's like that. It's like we have to learn how to relate to our experience in new ways, because the old ones are what we've been doing, and they blocked us. So the process of the sitting or the standing is a way to break open those hardwired ways we think that things have to happen in our system. So that's the creativity. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but it's yeah, you can't understand it, because that very thing is blocking it from opening. Okay. I'll be here at 1 o'clock my time for the Damjong, and Thank you so much. So yeah, immersion ends our first immersion with a retreat in the middle, but our immersion ends on Saturday, I think. Yeah. So Saturday the immersion ends. So don't get off the train yet. Thanks so much. See you around. Thank you.